How's it going, everyone? This is Rosalind, and today we're going to be taking a look at the latest trial. It's Glacial Reborn. Now, this is the party I ended up doing the fight with, or I ended up clearing the fight with. I tried a couple different parties. This is what I ended up clearing it with. I will make a suggestion here pretty soon of a different way to do the fight that I think would probably be better. But anyways, I'm going to be showcasing how I did it. So, first of all, this is the party I have. As you can see, I'm using a physical tank, I have a buffer, damage dealer, and I have 2 healers. So let's go ahead and take a look at their gear. Now for the physical tank here, I'm using Wilhelm, as you can see, and this is how I have him set up. Important things we're looking for here is high ice resistance, high water resistance, and high wind resistance. You want as high as you can get of these 3 resistances on all characters, and if you can get them to a combined total between the 3 of 380, then you can completely negate the combined 3-element attack that the boss uses almost every single turn, including as a preemptive attack. But if not, you can survive the damage that gets thrown at you from that attack, as long as these are at a fairly decent level. Now, one change I would suggest making, as I said before, is I would actually suggest using a magic tank as opposed to a physical tank. If you're having trouble, it's much easier throughout the majority of the fight just to have a magic tank up. However, if you do that, you're going to want to bring some way to reduce physical damage or re-raise for when the fight hits 50%, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Next I have Nickel. This is how I have him set up. Again, boosting these resistances as high as possible. His wind resistance is kind of low. This ended up being a little bit of an issue throughout the fight for me, but it ended up working out in the end. I also gave him Calamity Border. This is because when the turn that wind resistance or that wind damage came up, I would be having issues on that turn, just with everybody in general. So, and really outside of wind, it's not very difficult throughout the fight because, especially with Nickel being enhanced, this provides 100% to ice and water. So wind is really the main thing you have to worry about. And then my damage dealer is Yuffie. Yuffie is very good for this fight if you have her. But if you don't have her, I actually recommend using a magic user who uses ability damage. The reason for this being is because if you choose to go for the LB, like to kill the 2 ads with limit breaks, you're going to want to be dealing magic damage to them. Otherwise, you're going to have to be dispelling your own party every single turn, because they will imbue your party with different elements every single turn that the bosses absorb. Also, the bosses, throughout the entirety of the fight, constantly put up a reflect on themselves. And funny thing is, they actually use this reflect the way we would normally do, where they cast magic on themselves and reflect it off onto us. It's actually kind of funny. But this is the reasoning for wanting to use a magic user with ability damage, such as Ellie. However, if you do what I did and ignore the limit break mission, then Yuffie's probably the best unit, in my opinion. She has Bird Killer, she can imbue herself with Lightning, which is what the boss is weak. All the bosses are weak against. Just all around an ideal unit. She can also put up AoE dodge on your party as well. But like I said, she's not mandatory, just super helpful if you have her. And then I have Foca. Foca's just pretty standard. Have her resistances up. Really, her big thing is her enhancements. She has she can put up resistances to all spells, then ability, or to all ailments, and then primarily stop. The boss will use stop after 70%, and you want to have that protection up. She provides barriers, MP regeneration, and then damage shields, MP regeneration, and then an on-demand barrier. So just all around a very good unit. And then I brought Aerith. And the main reason I have Aerith here is just another healer, and also a form of Dispel. The boss will quite frequently throughout the fight put up attack and magic buffs on itself, and you can't break the boss's attack and magic, so you really want to get rid of these as much as possible. She's also my main re-raise unit, casting re-raise on Wilhelm throughout the fight. Anyways, that's it for the party. I'll go into more of the nuances of the battle when we get to the actual battle. Alright, and here we are in the fight. As you can see, we get preemptively attacked as per the original fight, and like I said, if you can look at my Wilhelm completely survived it. That's because he was at the 380% combined resistances between ice, water, and wind. Other people, as you can see, like Yuffie and Nickel almost died to it. But you just want to buff your resistances as high as possible, and you want to keep them up throughout the fight, which is why I end up putting up more resistances through either Calamity Border or Nickel's buff as the fight progresses. So, about the fight, all the ads, including the boss, absorb ice, water, and wind, so you don't want to be dealing those damage to the boss. They're also immune to non-elemental damage, so you need to be dealing some sort of element to them. At least I think the boss is. I know the ads are. I'm not positive on the boss, but I know Wilhelm was constantly getting he was constantly getting resisted when he was using non-elemental counterattacks, so I'm assuming the boss is also resistant to non-elemental damage. Or is immune to non-elemental damage, I'm sorry. And then also they're weak to lightning, so if you can deal lightning damage, definitely that's good. But if you can't, just whatever you want. So long as you're able to chain, you're going to want some pretty high damage output. And all the ads are the boss and the ads that can spawn sub 50% are immune to attack and magic breaks, but are vulnerable to defense and spirit. And the little ads are immune to all breaks. So, as I said about the preemptive attack, it's ice, water, wind damage. It also happens every single turn, and if you have a combined 380% resistance between the three elements, you'll take no damage from that. It also inflicts status ailments, so you want to keep up status ailment protection, or have some way to clear it, though I just recommend you have all your party members immune to it so you don't have to worry about it. Now, as for how the fight proceeds, obviously Glacial summons two little ads at the beginning of the fight, and you can kill these, or you can leave them be. Really, it's up to you based on how much damage you're taking. And the only thing you want to keep in mind is based on how you want to transition into the second phase of the fight, which I'll talk about that shortly. Also, when the fight begins, Glacial will put up a 3-turn damage reduction buff on itself for both physical and magic. This is a huge damage reduction, to the point where you're basically dealing almost no damage if you attack the boss. And he does place this up periodically throughout the fight, so just make sure you're watching out for that so you don't waste MP or anything. Now, Glacial works on a rotation in terms of what it does. So turn 1, it's going to use Ice Magic, and then it's going to use its little combo attack, the one that deals the 3 different elements. Turn 2, it's going to use Water Magic, and then it's also going to use the combo attack, and it's going to do a AoE physical attack. So every time this comes up, you either want to have a physical tank with AoE cover, or you are going to want to put up a AoE dodge, such as from like Yuffie. Now turn 3, the boss will use Wind Magic, followed by the combo attack, and then it will repeat the cycle for the entirety of the fight. Though it does add abilities later on, this is the main rotation that rotates. I know, like, after 70%, Frozen Hurricane gets added to the boss's rotation, which is why you want to have stop protection up after that and whatnot. Sub 50%, it'll also start dealing a non-coverable physical attack, which is very annoying. And there's also some non-elemental magic damage that's thrown out throughout the entirety of the fight, or throughout the fight. I think it's only sub 50%, but it could come plus 50%. But I've never really had issues above 50%, so I'm assuming that one's also sub 50% as well. So about the ads in the fight. Like I said, the boss will periodically summon them, and you can kill them off. Any ads that are up going into phase 2, which is at 50%, the boss will transition into phase 2. Any ads that are up will remain up. After 50% though, the boss will not summon any more ads. However, if there are 2 ads up, those 2 ads will merge and form almost like a clone of Glacial, a weaker clone of Glacial. And if you're going for the Limit Break mission, you need 2 of these, which means if you want to get the Limit Break mission, you need to have 4 little ads up when you transition the boss into 50%. That way 2 of those ads will spawn. If you don't, you cannot get that mission at all. It is impossible to get that mission if you do not have 4 ads up at the transition. If you don't care about it, you can just kill them off. Now, these little ads, I don't do this in my video, but the ads that turn into that, combine and turn into the bigger ones, these bigger ads, they will imbue your party every single turn in a rotation with ice, water, and wind, which the boss absorbs all those, which is why if you're using a physical damage dealers, you're going to need a way to dispel yourself every single turn. This is super annoying, so I just didn't do it. However, if you just kill the ads before you transition, you don't have to worry about it. It's just you versus the boss. Now the boss does start doing, like I said, a whole lot more damage that you can't prevent, and things get a lot more hectic after 50%, but you don't have to worry about the ads. Speaking of 50% in the transition, this is why I ended up switching to Wilhelm, but then later on thought of a better plan. So what happened is I was going really fine using a magic tank. Everything was working out great. Every time the water magic plus physical damage combo would come up, the turn before that I would put up AoE dodge on my party, and I would take like no damage. However, sub 50%, the boss uses, I believe on the transition, the boss will use his physical attack twice in addition to his non-elemental physical attack. This completely wrecked my party the first time I did the fight. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna switch to a physical tank so he can take all that damage, and I'm gonna use Calamity Border to reduce all the magic damage that's coming in. This ended up working really well. I ended up surviving the fight, and this is how I ended up killing it. But I think it probably would have been better to do continue with a magic tank and then use the AoE cover, and then either use AoE re-raise and or using the pod ability to reduce physical damage by 40% for 2 turns, and just use that every single time the physical AoE would come up, as well as on the transition. So if you can do that, I would recommend doing that. I think that would be a whole lot, I don't know, safer? I don't know if safer is really the word for it, but I think there would be a better way of doing it. But either way, I mean, you can do either way. I've seen a kill using a magic tank and no physical tank, and as you're seeing from my video, I use a physical tank and no magic tank. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot more to the fight. It's just keeping up resistances, dealing damage to the boss, staying alive, keeping re-raise on targets who are going to go low, making sure you know what turn order you're in, so you know when to put up AoE physical dodge if you need to, or when like wind magic is coming in, so if you're like me and you need more wind resistance, when to cast Calamity Border and whatnot. So it's actually a very simple fight. I personally think it's one of the easier trials in a good while. But like I said, I didn't do the version where you go for the limit break on the 2 ad kills because I just didn't want to deal with them. I was more focused on getting the fight down. But I did get every other mission done. It's actually pretty easy because the fight takes so long, and especially in phase 1, there's so many extra ads. You generate a whole bunch of Esper stones, so it's really easy to throw out Esper, the 2 Espers for the fight. And I was using Yuffie, so that makes it really easy to do lightning damage and whatnot. But anyways, that's pretty much it that I can think of for the fight. Like I said, it's really not that difficult. It's just, do you have elemental protection or not? And if you do, congratulations, the fight's fairly manageable. If you don't, well, good luck. But anyways, if you have any questions or you want to know like some of my recommendations for other party members to possibly use, like if you don't have Yuffie or something, just let me know as usual in the comment section below. And since this was taken from my Twitch channel, if you are interested in seeing the raw Twitch footage with my commentary in English that way, feel free to hop over to my Twitch channel. It should be a highlight there for it. And if you just want to see me do these sort of trials in the future live, be sure to follow me on Twitch. And I stream every single day, not always FFBE, but when I'm streaming the FFBE and you want to see me bang my head up against a new trial, feel free to come watch. Anyways, like I said, any questions, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you for the next trial.